So Rob, we've had the biggest ever damages award against pharmaceutical companies awarded by a US court overnight. What does this tell us about pharmaceutical companies?
Well, the first thing to remember is that big numbers like these, this was a $6 billion finding against Takeda and a Japanese drug company and Lilly, an American drug company, on the basis of a carcinogenic effect of their diabetes drug Actos. So the first thing to know is the big numbers shouldn't scare you too much at first, because it's only the start of a process. That's the first point. The second point is drug companies are actually fairly well set up to deal with these kinds of surprises. And that's true for a couple of reasons, but primarily because they're used to having big landfall profits when drugs come through, and then they lose drugs to patent expiration or to clinical findings, and so money disappears again. So if all goes well, these two companies can come through this in good shape.
And are they well set up to come through this challenge in good shape? Do they have the backing behind them to fight this?
A good piece of context to keep in mind when you think about that question is the successful recovery at Merck following its withdrawal of its pain drugs Vioxx about 10 years ago. They had to pay out about $4.5 billion to lawsuits. They had to pay another $1 billion in fines. But since they withdrew that drug, their stock has actually outperformed, and they've done a couple of things well. They had a couple of successes out of their pipeline that really helped them, and they had a quite successful and well-executed merger with Schering-Plough in 2009. And between that, they really shored up the company and have put it on solid footing again at Merck. These two companies, Lilly and Takeda, are going to have a harder time. Lilly has just lost its biggest drug, an antidepressant, to patent expiration, so it has a major chunk of its revenues already eroding. Takeda recently had to withdraw a pipeline drug that had some bad side effects out of its pipeline, so both are wobbly to begin with. So it's going to be hard for them to have the kind of recovery that Merck had. Not to say that it's impossible, but they're starting from a tougher place.
So a big shock for both companies, perhaps, in losing this judgment, but it is the first stage in what looks like a very long process. Rob, thanks very much.
Thank you.